No, not to the stage. Looks like another adventure for Mario. Woohoo! What am I going to collect this time? A pizza pie? What about my power-ups? Is Luigi coming? I hope not. Ow, 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 ow.
Showtime だ。
You guys ready? Lobby up.
Hey guys, lobby up.
GG's, lobby up.
Dude, we gotta lobby up.
Lobby up.
Hey, should we lobby up?
Yo, lobby up.
Lobby up, y'all.
Hey, let's grab a beer. Lobby up.
Welcome everyone to another episode. You've got Matt and Lewis here in the house.
How's it going, everybody?
So today we're going to be talking about Princess Peach, but before we get completely started on this game, we actually have our very first special guest on the podcast. We are so excited to bring Lewis's daughter, Ellie, onto the show. Ellie, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Ellie. So your dad is telling me that you guys played Princess Peach together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you have fun playing with me when we were playing Princess Peach together?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some questions for you because you have some firsthand experience. So we want to get all of your opinions and all of your thoughts on the game. So I have a very important question to ask you, okay?
Okay.
What was the silliest thing that you saw in the game?
Those big giant plants.
Oh, the
big
big
giant
giant plants. That's awesome.
Yeah, those plants are definitely scary. They were big. They had a whole bunch of thorns, and Ellie was just cutting through them like no tomorrow, man.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
So that big plant that you saw, remember the really big one? That was a level boss. How did you feel when you beat that level boss?
Good.
Yeah? Would you say you were a little scared to fight that giant plant?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do?
Cut it.
You cut it? What did you do to be brave?
Cut it.
Oh, see, that's the solution, man.
If something's in your way and you're not sure what to do, in order to feel brave, you just cut that stuff. All right, Ellie, what was your favorite part about the whole game?
That she was dressing up.
That she was dressing up?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what did she dress up as?
A lot.
A lot? Name some of the different ones she dressed up as. Which ones do you remember?
The color.
The color? Which color?
The pink color.
Oh, the regular pink colored peach. That one's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did the sword one look like?
Blue.
Yeah, it was blue, and she had a really nice
Oh.
hat.
Yeah.
That's
What would you
cool.
say your favorite costume was?
The bigger one.
What did you do when you baked things? Did you bake things for people?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens if you press the button too fast as the baker while you're cooking?
It burns.
Oh,
It
no.
burns, and then what happens?
It explodes.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, wow. Man, that must have been scary.
Were you scared when it exploded, or you just tried again? Which one did you do?
I tried again.
Nice.
Awesome,
nice.
Ellie. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about the game. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Princess Peach is really cool.
Did you really like the game?
Yeah.
Would you recommend this game to all your friends?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, well, there you have it. That's a wrap, guys. That's the end of the episode.
Yes. This is all you need to know. This game has been Eliana approved.
Awesome. Well, thanks for talking to us and all of our listeners, Ellie. Can you say bye to everybody?
Bye, guys.
Okay, well, we were really glad to have Ellie stop by the studio so she could share her thoughts on the game with all of our listeners today. We're going to get right into our new segment called Quick Play, and this is very similar to our What You Playin' style episodes, but in this one, we wanted to get the episode done sooner so that way we could get our thoughts on the game out to all of our listeners quicker. So, hence the Quick Play. Lewis is the only one who has played this game. Truth be told, I have not played this game. I have not played a single second. I've done a lot of research and preparation for this episode, but all I've heard on the side from you is that you liked it. I don't know anything about your thoughts about this game.
which is really rare because typically, like, as I'm playing these games or as we're like playing games for the podcast, on the side we're like, yo, this game's really good. Oh, I gotta tell you, I can't wait. And we wind up spoiling a lot of this information beforehand. So this
Right.
is actually one of the first times you're going in not knowing my thoughts at all.
Basically anything. And speaking of spoil, huge spoiler warning right now. Cue the spoiler alert. This game was only released like maybe about a month or so ago. So I guess we're still kind of in like a spoiler warning type of time frame, but we're going to get right into some of the topics I've been dying to get your thoughts on. Like, this is basically, it's not Peach's first solo game, but this is kind of the first time that Peach is front and center stage, so to speak. And she's getting this kind of total spotlight. And that's awesome because we're actually getting to know this character that we have neglected basically for like 30 plus years. So talk to me about Peach, bro.
So Peach, man, she's as beautiful as ever. Her characteristics, for the most part, in her vanilla form, are the same. She's very stoic, very, go with the flow and
Classic
graceful.
Peach.
Classic Peach. It's when she starts putting on her different costumes and these different plays that really let her inner personality shine. I kind of view those outfits as that, like those different personalities that everybody kind of holds in. They get a moment to shine. Her detective outfit, she can be intellectual, and she can be what's the word I'm looking for? She can use her intuition, and she's like a Sherlock Holmes style. But then on the same token, she can be Mighty Peach, and she's a literal superhero that is like
sick.
battling through space. So you get all these wonderful personalities from one character, and they did such a wonderful job letting her flex in that spotlight that she really has deserved for a long time.
Bro, it's way overdue. And it's cool to me that they picked such, and this is just Nintendo at work, bro. Like, it's such a perfect setting for them to be in. And I know we're going to get into that in a second here, but like, I really appreciate that they're kind of putting a spotlight on like theater and that type of aspect, because I grew up being a theater kid and I got to like kind of get out of my comfort zone because of theater. So it's really cool that they're taking that aspect of things and letting Peach show all of her different colors. I just find that really cool.
For sure. And that setting, the setting of the theater really shines bright, and they go full force into that theatrical setting in terms of music, visuals, and all.
Nice. So talk to me about all these different things that Peach is getting into. Like, she's in different scenes and she wears different outfits and different power-ups because of that. I mean, like, what's all the setup there?
So the setup is actually as simple as any Mario game or any game that's been set in the Mushroom Kingdom. You're at the wrong place at the wrong time. So Princess Peach goes to the Sparkle Theater, and she's just trying to have a good time, get away from being kidnapped, get away from Mario's smelly self and Luigi's smelly self, and it's like, let me go and have a nice time. So she goes to this Sparkle Theater, and basically this evil spirit that embodies the genre of tragedies in theater takes over the whole theater and infects all the different genres of plays that are showed in the theater.
Oh, that's actually really cool. Taking such a simple concept of like being the antagonist and just like adding the extra layer. That's really cool. I really like that. So like, how does that affect each of the settings?
So basically, and this actually goes into the costumes, each costume that Peach wears is representative of an actor that was kidnapped in each of these different plays.
Oh.
So how I saw it as I was playing it was Peach was the understudy for all these plays, because now that there's no actors, she's taken up their mantles, going through these plays that are now corrupted by tragedy and trying to save the main actors for each costume.
That's actually deeper than I expected. Like, I was imagining something a lot more lighthearted and just like Peach is just saving the day and she's like doing her thing on stage, but that whole extra layer of complexity, like, bravo.
Yeah, and again, somebody younger does see it that way, and that's okay. Like,
right.
Somebody who's, Ellie's age, she's 4, she goes in and she's like, oh dude, Peach is a mermaid, oh Peach is a robot now. Like, she's just happy with that. And then the adults, the older players, are like, whoa, tragedy infecting all the other genres because she's not getting enough love. Wow, that's kind of crazy. And it goes deeper and deeper the more you play.
Basically, this is the Bluey game that we deserved.
God, I wish the Bluey game was good.
Okay, so Ellie's playing the game. She's loving all the different characters. So huge variety in what you're seeing. But from my understanding, this it doesn't just affect the scene and her power-ups and her looks and the looks of the scene and all that. Now, that's great. But doesn't it affect what you're doing in the game too as well?
So each costume to me, and I told this to Johnny Lay, each costume could be its own fleshed out game if they wanted to.
Nice.
The gameplay, as much as it's still a theatrical setting, as much as it's still Princess Peach's Showtime, it is its own unique game and unique gameplay mechanics. And granted, as unique as it can be with using the A and B button the whole game, the
Sure.
controllers are not complex. You
Sure.
get the A button, you get the B button, and that's all you're using. But it's what you do in these theater settings that really make this gameplay shine. For instance, the detective, which admittedly, the Princess Peach detective costume is probably my least favorite gameplay. But
Okay.
I do know that it's somebody's favorite.
Sure.
And that is a much more mellow, trying to solve a mystery setting. Like there's these three bandits that are like stealing these different, they're called, so instead of stars, they're sparkles. That's what you're
Okay.
collecting in this game.
Okay.
So like they're stealing sparkles, they're stealing money, and your job is to figure out where they're hiding and how to get the sparkles back, how to get the money back, in some instances how to get these paintings back.
Okay.
It's very mellow. It's not my cup of tea because in the same token, you go to Ninja Peach and it is a ninja epic. You're in feudal Japan and you're like hiding in the grass, sneaking up on armored enemies, running through, trying to get to the top of this tower. And every episode ends, I say episode, every play ends with a huge set piece of like, in the first level with her, you're riding a wave. And this epic Japanese ninja music is playing, and it's like do 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 do, and you're like
it's so
floating
cool.
through this. You're floating through this wave, like attacking enemies. And then in the sequel, if you will, because with these costumes, you have to play through it twice. So
okay.
and then on the third go through, you save the original actor.
Okay. So can you like do one playthrough and then go to a different episode and then come back, or how does it work?
So basically, you're in the theater. So the theater works as the hub world, like Princess Peach's castle.
Mm-hmm.
And like in Mario 64, that's the hub world. And each door is a different play that you go through.
Okay.
And the very first level is a sword fighter Peach. You beat that, you collect all the sparkles. And then after that, you go next door and it's the Ninja Peach. And then after that, it's the Patissiere Peach. And then so on and so forth. You clear the floor. You beat the first level boss, and then you go to the second floor, all the way to the 5th floor. Does that make sense?
I see. Yeah. Okay. So each of these outfits in their own separate play is its own level.
Yes.
Gotcha. Cool. That's awesome. That's so cool. And you're kind of bringing something up that I wanted to talk about and touch on too, is that you're not collecting stars, you're collecting sparkles. Isn't that related to the character that gives you your powers in this game, sort of?
Yes. So the name of her companion is Stella, and she is able to help you use the powers of the sparkles.
Okay.
Which really does sound like the most like cheesy 5-year-old thing in the world, and it is, but it's awesome.
With the power of sparkles, we'll save the show.
Dude, this game made me feel pretty, so
But I thought it was really cool though, because I'm kind of getting like a Rosalina and Luma vibe.
yes. And to be honest, as we get towards the end game, that comparison gets even more related.
Cool. So we'll put a pin in that. So I want to ask you something. So obviously your daughter is very young, and she's able to love and enjoy this game from her own perspective, and you as a grown man are loving it, enjoying it from your own perspective. So, it's got me thinking, Nintendo is obviously a master at this, at making like a game accessible to all ages. But touch on that, bro. Like, how is this game good for kids as young as your daughter, and even people who are just long-term Nintendo fans who can just enjoy some Peach?
So that is actually a really good question, and that was probably one of my biggest props for Nintendo because they did such a good job with this game. So you can make this game as easy as you want or as hard as you want. And I'm a masochist, so I make all my games as hard as humanly possible. So, you know, this game, of course, it's a Nintendo game through and through, so that accessibility for them is key. And this game, by default, is pretty easy to play. It's when you start trying to collect all the sparkles where it gets difficult. Because some of them are so in your face, you literally cannot miss them, even if you try. Like, some of them are integral to the gameplay. You beat the game, like you beat the level, you're gonna get some stars. Some of them are like you see them you're right. I'm sorry, sparkles. So you see the sparkle right in front of you, you can pick it up and move along. Some of them are extremely hard to find. So in this game, instead of warp pipes, there are certain sections on the stage that like kind of look like you should stand on them, and then you pose on them.
Oh, okay.
So you do your pose, and either one, you'll get some coin, or two, the stage will lift up and you'll go through a trapdoor and you'll go backstage and you'll get some sparkles there as well.
Oh, that's cool. So like there's whole sections of this gameplay where it takes you backstage to find something secret and cool.
Yes.
That's super creative. I love that. That's really cool, man. So that adds like a whole, like you said, extra layer of complexity, because if you're a kid just blazing through the main story, you're never going to even see that.
Absolutely. And I beat the game. It took me about 15 hours, give or take some, because I was playing with Ellie through some of that, so I was taking my time. I don't think I could have beaten it much faster, because some of these levels I had to repeat because I missed some sparkles. And that does go to some nitpicks I have with the game that I will talk about later, having to repeat some of these levels, because some of them are so well hidden that I had to do it a couple times to try to find it, because I refuse to use guides. You know how I do that. Like I hate myself.
Yeah, dude. But that's really cool that they add that extra layer of complexity for the people that want the challenge. And you know, you find a game like this where if you resonate with the character, you're gonna want that. You don't want to just be able to beat the game and just be done with it. That's why people are always begging for DLC. They're begging for online multiplayer, because they found a game that they like and they just want to keep playing it. And so hopefully Peach continues to find that in all of her games. So we're kind of touching a little bit on this already, but I guess what would you say is like the actual target audience for this game, so our listeners can kind of get a feel for themselves and their families?
So I would say, in the most Nintendo fashion, this game is for everybody. Like, it really is rated E for everybody. Everybody that likes Nintendo, of course.
Sure.
Am I telling, you know, Mr. 4chan man to come down and play Princess Peach? No. But if you love Nintendo and you love just the way Nintendo makes video games, this is for you. Like I said, there's so many different costumes that you can play. You're bound to love one of these costumes and the level designs that are behind it. You know, I touched upon the detective one, and I touched upon the ninja one. There's Kung Fu Peach, and you are in like a Kung Fu epic in China, and you are trying to save the Grand Master from this evil Madame Grape infused entity. And like you're going through and you're punching all these like enemies, and then you get to the main. So like, I would say for the most part, every costume has a main antagonist for each play that aren't just the level bosses for each floor. So the main antagonist for the Kung Fu play is this like Kung Fu master that's evil, and like you go up to him and it's not just as easy as pressing B over and over and fighting it. It turns into a fighting game. So like you can only move left to right. And like you have to wait for the proper moment to like trade blows with this enemy, and it's so fantastic along with the music.
Mortal Kombat Peach DLC confirmed.
Oh, absolutely. Running on the Nintendo Switch 2, coming in 2025.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you're about 4 months late to the party on the Switch 2. But yeah, dude, so like I've got to say, the variety at this point makes it sound like the development of this game was just a fever dream. Like they were like, Peach was a ninja, and then she was a black belt, and then she was baking cakes. Like,
Dude, the bacon cakes. Ellie is right to like the bacon cake ones. I thought I was gonna dislike the baker one. It's actually really fun and really good. So the main one for the Patissiere Peach, it's a baking festival. Everything is made of cookies and sunshine, and then Madame Grape's minions come and just ruin it for no reason, just because it's a tragedy.
Right.
And so they steal all of the baked goods, and it's your job to make all the baked goods back. Easy, simple, right?
My guess was going to be that they put too much baking soda into all the baking stuff, because whenever I was a kid, there was like this game that I randomly played, and it was like a tragedy every time I put too much baking soda. So, missed opportunity, Nintendo.
Fair enough. But that sounds simple, right? Like, I got to make the cakes again, and it's fun. Level 2, Madame Grape takes it up a notch and infects everyone's food with, like, I guess, malice, if you will. What? And everybody turns into zombies.
That escalated quickly.
So your job is to bake cookies, and with the power of Sparkle, you bake these magic cookies and you stop them from being zombies. That sounds all good and dandy, but as you're baking, it's very simple. You hold down B. If you hold down B for too long, your mixture will explode and it'll get all over the place, and you have to start again.
Okay.
You have to time it perfectly, because if you time it perfectly, you get more cookies to give. So as you're baking with that pressure, there is zombies at the door, and if you take too long, they'll bust your door open and you lose a life.
Dude, this sounds almost like Overcooked.
Yeah, that's actually a very good comparison.
Jeez. Wow. I mean, that sounds like challenging and fun, and like genuinely does. But every time you say the power of Sparkle, I just like,
I'm telling you,
I feel like we're just maybe like one hair off from like saving the day with power of friendship. I mean, like,
I'm not gonna lie, this is better. I'd rather save it with Sparkle. It makes me feel pretty. So.
Okay, well, so I know that you told me a while back that you have played the original game that Peach originally kind of had to herself on the DS. Again, truth be told, I haven't played either of these, so kind of give me some like comparisons here. Are we evolving in gameplay? Is the gameplay nothing like that old one? What's that one like, and what's your thoughts?
So I did own the original Princess Peach on the DS, and I actually just rebought it because, as you know, I am a collector and I am trying to rebuy my childhood.
Yeah.
Sidebar, that game has gone up so much in price. It's like $150 to own it.
Really?
Yeah. So it has developed a cult following, and since a lot of people didn't buy the game on its original run, it's a little bit scarce. So not as many people bought it, so it's harder to get now secondhand.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a little sidebar there, but I love that game. It was really good. It's completely different, and here's why. Right off the bat, that is a honest to goodness platformer first.
Okay.
Set in the Mushroom Kingdom. You are trying to save Mario, and you are fighting Super Mario baddies.
Okay.
What I like about Princess Peach Showtime is it completely acts like the Mushroom Kingdom doesn't exist. Matt, there's not a single Mario character in this game.
What?
The only time you see anybody is Toad in the beginning and at the end, because he gets locked out of the theater. There is no Mario influence. This game runs on its own merits without having to depend on the familiar.
Gotcha. It's just kind of establishing their own like IP in a way.
Yes.
Wow. So just reinventing Peach.
Basically, and down to like the Sparklas, that's the characters that you see with the big nose hanging out everywhere. Okay. The actors are also Sparklas. They kind of take the place of Toad in this universe.
Okay.
So going back to the Nintendo DS, like I said, you're fighting the giant piranha plant, you're fighting King Boo, you're trying to save Mario.
All the classic Mario characters.
So even then, you're still resting on the back of Super Mario games to get this Princess Peach game out there in the open.
Yeah.
And they did a good job, and Nintendo doesn't even acknowledge that game, honestly, in the present day. They act like it doesn't exist. Princess Peach Showtime just hits it out of the park on its own merits, and I respect that so much, because it could have been easy to have, Bowser working with Madame Grape at the end, or to have Piranha Plant show up and that be one of the level bosses.
Have
The level-
Toadette be assisting you, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
The level bosses are completely unique to this game, which I would love to touch on that in a second because the level bosses are phenomenal.
Heck yeah. It really does kind of sound like our introduction to Peach occurred in this game, not the DS game.
Yes. And let's be clear, like I said earlier, this game first and foremost is for a younger audience. Like I said, your dude bros aren't going to be like, yo, I'm granted I said that. I'm like, I'm going to play some Princess Peach. But your typical dude bro isn't going to go play this game. But this is going to make a new generation of kids super stoked for Princess Peach. They're really going to like latch onto her character way more than we could have possibly as a kid. I mean, the most you and I got growing up was Super Mario 2, where you got to play as Princess Peach, the DS game that no one played, and honestly, like her very minor roles in being kidnapped, and Super Smash Bros. That's her exposure.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, then go ahead, because now you've got me interested. You've piqued my interest here. Talking about these bosses.
Dude, these level bosses are so much fun, and this is actually going to tie into one of my favorite parts of this game. The level bosses, you have Disco Wing, which is a bird in a disco ball. The design is beautiful, and that's supposed to be like the special effects. You have Light Fang, which is a snake that you have to creep up a tower and not get seen by the snake.
Oh my
and then as you're going up the tower, you have to like blow up these fuses to get it to not see you, and then you make your way all the way up to the tower.
Stealth mission with a nod to Snake.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me. Well, you haven't played the Arkham games, but fighting Scarecrow in the Arkham games, it was very similar to that.
Okay.
You have Projector Cat, which is a giant cat that's supposed to be the projector on the screen. You have to protect this mouse bomb, and you have to keep dodging its paws and its tails, and then eventually it gets super mad and stomps the ground with its paws, and then the bomb shoots up and hits it in the face. It is such a fun level design. And then last but not least, other than Madame Grape, you get the Spot Lion, which is a lion that's a spotlight, and then you get put in a room full of mirrors, and it starts shooting light at you, and it reflects off the mirrors. It's so fun, dude.
That sounds really, really cool and a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then going back, that's the easy mode. Right off the beginning, you just fight these bosses, you win, you take some damage, and you call it a day. If you want to do it on hard mode, after you beat the game, you can go back and fight these bosses with certain parameters to get the final sparkles of the game.
Okay, so this is just further hammering in your point of how you can beat the game and get that satisfaction as a kid, and then older kids, adults even, can go back and have this extra challenge. That's great. That's what you want to see in these like one-player games.
Johnny Lay saw me like rage quitting, particularly Projector Cat. That was so difficult because not only can you not take damage, you have to not touch its paws or its tail at all.
Oh my
so
gosh.
there's a moment where it's just swinging its paws and its tail everywhere, and if you touch it, you're done. Your run through is over for that attempt.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And like I was telling Johnny Lee, I'm like, oh, I'm getting tilted. Like I can't do this anymore. And then I did wind up doing it. But again, you don't have to do that. When it came time, so to unlock these bosses, you have to have a certain amount of sparkles. So like we're talking the last one before Madame Grape, Spot Lion. Stella's like, we're gonna need 30 sparkles, and I'm like, I'm looking at my stash and I have like 120.
Like, oh no, wherever will I get that?
It's like, oh, here you go, buy yourself something nice.
Buy something sparkly.
And then to top it off, man, with these beautiful bosses, and this is gonna lead me to one of my favorite parts again, the music in these boss fights are phenomenal. It's just very chaotic jazz playing. So it's just a saxophone going and you're just like sweating because you're trying to do the parameters, and like the jazz is just going hard.
Leave it to jazz to create the most tension possible.
They're literally just playing every note at the same time.
So you've touched on all these things that you love. It sounds like a great game. You have any criticism for the game?
Yes. Gosh, yes. And the first one is, you can tell that this is a a graphically challenged game in an aging Switch.
Yeah.
Visually it looks good, but I experienced a lot of frame drops during my play.
That's sad.
Yeah, so there was some frame drops. The loading screens are atrocious with the frame drops. Like,
Oh.
so it's like you go into these worlds, and then like it looks like you're going into a portal, and it looks like it's just like it's super choppy. So there's this enemy, it's like a ghost knight. It's in the walls, and yes, it's supposed to be 2D, but it looks like it's like going at like 20 frames per second. It looks so like they had to cut some corners to make it work.
Right.
That is actually my minor criticism. You know what? It's an aging Switch. It's a taxing game because the game looks beautiful. I can bypass that, but it is not completionist friendly. On a good note, the levels are nice and long. You're Mermaid Peach, you're going through all this level and you're singing and controlling these fish, and it's beautiful. You're having a wonderful time, and you're like, wow, this is great. And then you realize you missed a sparkle. And you're like, oh darn, like I missed a sparkle. I'll go on the next run. More insultingly, you missed the last sparkle because you accidentally went left a little too far, and you can no longer go back. You are stuck in that side of the stage. You're missing it at the end. You beat the game. You got everything except that one sparkle that you know where it is. You have to go back in and beat a whole 12-minute level to get that very last sparkle at the end.
That I'm like frustrated for you, and I totally agree. I think this is actually related to your minor critique. I think that that's totally related. In 2024, if you can't go back a space to try to get something that you miss, it's got to be related to processing power, the amount that you have available at your disposal, downloaded to your console. I can't help but feel like this is a hardware limitation. And like you said, so many things had to be scrapped in order to be able to keep this game at the quality it released at. I can't help but feel like that was an oversight, because it wasn't thought about gameplay wise, and it's a huge mistake for a platforming collectathon like this. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that to the player.
And in their defense, like, they lore wise, they made it make sense. You're now in a different stage. It's a new setting. It's a new set. Cool.
But like you said, if it's like imperative that you collect these things to get that 100% completion, then that's extremely punishing for what you just did. You literally just went a frame over.
Yeah, and yes, and like I said, not all of them. That's what I was gonna say. Not all of those sparkles fall under the criteria of like, you're in a whole new set, you know, you're tough luck.
Yeah.
Some of them really is just you're over just a little bit to the left. But let's say you miss one in the very beginning and you beat the whole level, and you missed one because you didn't go left in the start of the level. You start the game, you get the one that you missed on the left side. You have to beat the whole level. You can't just quit the level after you get the sparkle. That was so frustrating for somebody that doesn't use any external help. So I'm here digging, trying to find where these couple of like straggler ones are. There's this one for the ice skating rink that was like brutal because I kept missing one little like, so for the ice skating one, there's snowflakes on the ground. Depending on the shape, you either have to like spin or jump. You have to get all of the snowflakes. Cool. I kept missing one. So like I had to like restart over and over and over. And it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'm doing this tomorrow. I'm officially tilted.
Yeah.
Again, make the game as hard as you want, fine, but like at least let me go in, collect the one I'm missing, and then leave the level. Why do I have to quit?
Right.
With unskippable cutscenes, dude.
Oh my gosh. And then by the time that you're getting to where you can actually complete it, you've got the whole cutscene memorized, and you're like mocking the voice as they're talking.
Yes, dude.
I think all of that is fair. Everything that you're saying there, if I had played this game, I'm really into platformers, really into collectathons, so I would have been the same way. So fair. But that being said, you did actually collect those things. You did go through the grueling effort of making it happen. You sparkled every sparkle. Was it worth it? Is basically what I want to know.
So, as a completionist standpoint, like I'm complete. I'm not the completionist. You know, I'm not out here committing fraud. But I do like to complete the games when possible. Did I feel satisfied at the end? Yes. As you collect the sparkles, you get the ribbons, you get these cute little Princess Peach dresses that you can buy in the store. I felt very satisfied, but not as satisfied as beating Madame Grape at the end. It is just as good as beating Bowser. It's just as
Nice.
good as beating any Mario antagonist in the series. It is epic. So the ending, you free all of the original actors, and through the power of Sparkle,
Oh my
they
gosh.
all put their energy towards you, and you become like super radiant Peach. So this Peach looks a lot like Rosalina. I couldn't like
Oh.
immediately down to the sparkles at the flow of her dress. She becomes all powerful, and you start shooting sparkles at Madame Grape while she's having dancers dance around her. So like it's an epic orchestral ending to this game, and it's multiple tiers. So the first one, you're fighting her base form. There's the dancers, you're trying to shoot her, avoiding all these different enemies. After you beat her, like any Mario game, you beat her up 3 times and it's over. And then you're walking out, and then she turns into this god form, and she breaks the entire Sparkle Theater. It's shattered into a million pieces,
Holy crap.
and the remnants becomes a giant amphitheater. So like all the
nice.
sparklers are hanging out watching. You're distressed. You're like, oh my god, she did it. She destroyed the theater. And all of the sparklers, with the power of friendship, just like give you their energy like Goku and Spirit Bomb, and you become like this altered form of that radiant Peach. And you're like floating in the air doing kamehamehas in her face, avoiding her hands. And I'm just like, what is happening? How did I start out, as a little sword fighter, a little cowboy, a thief, and now I'm like blowing this giant mask's face in. And then it all gets topped off with orchestral music. And then at the end, when you beat her, it's like a straight clash to the face where you start pressing B over and over and over. And then it's just like an explosion. And I'm like, how did we get here? And I love that. And so ultimately satisfied with the ending and 100%ing this game. I would say I would recommend everybody do it.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds badass.
It's awesome, dude. If you haven't, I would at least watch the gameplay of it. It's fantastic. And then don't get me started on the parameters of beating Madame Grape at the end, which are just like, it's not as bad as the projector cat, but it was pretty bad.
All right, bro, give me a wrap up on this awesome game that you played.
So overall, when I first started this game, I couldn't help but feel that I may have made a mistake playing it. I'm not gonna lie. At first I was like, oh man, this game is really kiddish. I'm like, but you know what? It's for Ellie. I want her to play it with me. And like, we had some wonderful moments. Ellie beat her first level boss in this game, and I was a proud dad to see that happen. And this is a shout out to Ellie. She was so brave. She didn't want to do it, but because she was scared of the giant plant in the beginning.
Right.
But she was brave and she did it anyways. So like, already off the bat, I'm like, this is a very special game, because this is a game that my daughter may very well beat for the first time. We're gonna play it through to the end. But I was happy for her. I was not happy for myself, because I'm like, well, when she's done playing, I'm gonna have to play this game alone, and I don't know if I'm gonna get into it. It's a little too kiddish for me. But I plowed through, knowing that I was gonna do an episode with you on this. And as the game progressed, it got better and better and better. It got more elaborate. Like I said about the pâtissier Peach, you went from just baking cookies for a festival to hoarding off zombies. For the cowboy Peach, when I got to her, that's when I really started feeling this game pick up. You're on a hoedown, taking down baddies on a horse. It's amazing. And it only went up. Like, this game is one of those rare games that, like, it starts off not very good, and by the end of it, you're like, Jesus, this was a great experience. So my final score for this game, and taking into account the world building, the gameplay, the visuals, everything, I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I think Nintendo has something really special here, and I think each individual costume, like I said, could have been its own game, and I could have played it all the way through. Maybe not the detective one, but Thief Peach is a highlight for me. That was actually my favorite Thief Peach and Mighty Peach were a toss-up as my favorite ones. Either one of those could have been its own game on its own. And luckily we got 10 different versions of Peach. So I think it's a bargain. If you have kids and you're a gamer, this is a perfect entry point for you to play a great game with your kids that will eventually get them into your hobby as well. So go out and play Princess Peach Showtime.
Awesome. Thanks, bro. Yeah, you must have had a pretty proud gamer dad moment with this game. And ultimately, like you said, dude, at the end of the day, whether you want to look at this game at the surface and say, oh wow, this is so cheesy, and some people even calling it just like lame or stupid, like, you're not understanding that this is somebody's entry into gaming. The thing that all the perspective that you have to sit there and judge a game like this, you developed over years of getting into games that were probably way less technically sound than how this game sounds. So I mean, I love that Ellie enjoyed it. I love that you enjoyed it too. And listen, this is what Lobby Up is about. I know I say that all the time, but I'm really happy that you played this game. I'm really happy we talked about it.
Yes.
So if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you leave a like on it. Tell us your favorite moments, and definitely share us with your friends so we can get you some of that more good content from Lobby Up here. This has been Matt and Lewis. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys.